Welcome to Movies That Matter, the podcast about recent films going above and beyond the call of box office returns to boldly explore a social issue affecting people's lives. I'm Nicole Finari.
And I'm Stacy Moore.
What movie are we overanalyzing this week?
Like a Boss.
So, best friends Mia, played by Tiffany Haddish, and Mel, played by Rose Byrne, run their own cosmetics company, a business they built from the ground up. But they're also in over their heads financially, and the prospect of a buyout offer from an industry titan, Claire Luna, played by Salma Hayek, proves to be too tempting to pass up. But now the beauty business is getting ugly as the new boss tests Mia and Mel's lifelong friendship.
Did you come up with that getting ugly?
No.
Oh, that's
it was in there.
I was really impressed.
Dare I ask, what did you think of Like a Boss?
Like a Boss. Well, I went in with high expectations. I adore Tiffany Haddish.
Oh, me as well.
Rose Byrne, Salma Hayek. It was like a comedy.
Jennifer Coolidge,
who in 20 years has not aged a day. Like from American Pie to today, like looks exactly the same. Very impressive, but also very funny. Comedy dream team as far as like female, comic actors. The trailer was hysterical, and I don't know. I just feel like all the funniest moments were in the trailer, and even like some jokes that were in the trailer, like that were really hysterical, didn't actually make the final cut of the movie. Like I kept waiting for this when
that happens.
Yeah, I kept waiting for this one like burn from Tiffany Haddish to come around, and it just never did. And I was like, oh, I guess that was just for the trailer. Yeah, I was a little disappointed, just a little. It was formulaic. Like it, just like every other female-based comedy. It ended with the climax. The climactic resolution was a public performance in front of a huge crowd. Which, as soon as they started grabbing the mics at the end of the movie to go up and like really, stand their ground, I was like, oh, here we go. And the same way every female-based comedy ends. I wasn't scratching my eyes out. Like it wasn't terrible. It just wasn't. It wasn't Bridesmaids.
No. I mean, I still think, if I really had to name a low watermark for this podcast, it might still be Tarzan. I have never wanted to leave a movie as much as I wanted to leave Tarzan, I think.
I totally blacked that out. I did, like, only now I'm remembering we did that movie.
So I was not, like, desperate to leave. And frankly, the runtime was only 83 minutes.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was pretty hard to, like, want to run for the hills. Like, thankfully none of it lasted too long.
Sure.
So
I mean, the performances were funny, right?
So yeah, so I this is we're movie critics, right? And so I spent a lot of time thinking about like what went wrong.
Sure.
So I will say first and foremost, Billy Porter stole the movie out from everybody.
Absolument. Yeah.
I mean, that scene, you saw it in the trailer and it was just as funny when you saw it on the big screen.
I laughed throughout that entire
whole
thing.
Scene. Yeah. My audience laughed a lot more than I did. So I will say that at least some people connected to more of the comedy than I did.
I was the only one laughing. I was like willfully laughing.
Yeah.
To like spite everybody else.
So I will say I would guess problem number one, as the Oscar nominations came out this morning as we were recording. And, all the important men, they got...
So important.
So important. It was really important for them to get those nominations. It was apparently not important for any person of color or for any female directors or, it was...
Unimportant.
No. Yeah. Apparently they need to, wait their turn.
It'll come.
They're
patient.
Pick your cliche. Sure. So the movie was directed and written by men. And it shows. And I think, I still think, I did one of those like Twitter things like, well, what's the funniest movie you saw in the 2010s? I'm like, Bridesmaids.
Yeah.
My God, Bridesmaids.
Oh, yeah.
And everything about that movie works because it's made by women.
Right.
And it just understands female friendships and relationships and animosities and frenemies and all of that stuff.
And references for jokes.
And frankly... inept men. I mean, John Hamm's character is like, we've all dated some version of that dude, or at least met him. So this movie just, I think it didn't know how to, the comedy was a little bit too generic. It wasn't rooted enough in them, so they sort of give you this backstory about Mel having this meth head mom who has to go live with Mia. And they should have been able to pull off a bunch of like inside jokes about that. And the comedy was just very generic. Mm-hmm. Peppers are hot.
Oh, I know. I kept waiting.
Vaginas are funny.
I kept waiting for something like sort of new and unexpected, like that we saw in Bridesmaids so much, and in subsequent films that it inspired. And when the pepper came, I went, oh, I guess this is the thing.
Yeah.
That was a really sad moment.
And there was a whole extended bit, again, about this vagina cake, and it's like, there's really not that kind of female equivalent to a dick joke. This, like, isn't, we don't find our lady parts that funny.
We really don't.
Like, we don't want to make a lot of jokes about them. It's like, and so it's just, like, doesn't land. But I think I actually thought that Rose Byrne and Tiffany Haddish did a decent job. Like, they had really good chemistry, and they were working their poor bees off just trying to make this movie come out. Salma Hayek was the problem. Mm. And we know it's not Salma Hayek. Right. Because she's legit funny. Like, that ain't the problem,
yes,
right?
She is, yeah.
Her part made no sense and wasn't funny.
It didn't make sense. Like, I was like, I am not following. And that was true of a lot of aspects, I feel like, of the sort of choices that characters were making. I would think to myself, does that naturally stand to reason that they would then do that from this?
Right.
Like, and I had that thought something like 8 times. I guess we're going this way, I guess.
So they introduced that she carries around this golf club because she needs something to quote-unquote fiddle with her hands. And then she doesn't use it ever except, like, one very obvious violent scene. So it's like, if you had seen her, like, just standing there, baton twirling, like something, like, but it was, like, an affectation that had no purpose. Like, it didn't really gel with the rest of the character. So, like, she was not evil enough to enjoy hating. That's the other thing. Like, she plays on their insecurities, but, like, it's hard not to be on her side at some point. It's like they have a big presentation, so they're, like, getting stoned on the roof and, like, not working on it.
And then she's disappointed with their result.
Yeah, and it's, like, a little bit hard not to be, like, she's kind of pushing them to grow up and be actual businesswomen, and they are not, and it's, like, but they still want to be successful, so it's, like, I mean, she's not actually wrong about kind of any of the things that she tries to get them to do.
Sure. So
her being the villain of the piece then isn't funny. It's just sort of like, what's happening right now? What movie is she in? I'm confused.
Who is that woman? What does she want? I don't understand. It was all just very vague. The motivations were all very vague.
Yeah, they literally made no sense. Yeah, they just were like, and then the friends, they try to play a, like, keeping up with the Jones kind of.
It did occur to me that,
and I'm like, they are really wealthy women, but, like,
yeah, I felt like the setup, I guess, part of the way we, are become aware of Mia and Mel's, I don't know, feelings of insecurity about their business and their careers, I suppose, is that we see their friends doing so much better materially. They've got mansions and, I don't know, kids, babies, husbands and kids, and they feel bad about this, Mia and Mel do. And there was, like, a lot of, kind of tit for tat, like, oh, I've got this, what do you have? No, kind of conversations. And I thought, this is something guys do. I don't recall ever in my life going, oh, my friend has a big house. Like, that's never bothered me in my life. And no one's ever expressed
You know why?
Why?
Because you're not friends with those people anymore. Maybe. Like, we're women. Like, if their lives had diverged in that big, like they wouldn't actually still be friends, frankly, since college.
Perhaps.
Like, women jettison friends in a way that meant, like, I've said this before on the podcast, it bears repeating. Literally all I know about male friendships is from the movie Sideways. So, like, Sideways makes sense because and I have seen this play out in real life, like, that's what dudes do. It's like, well, we were roommates in college. I guess we're stuck with each other forever, even though we don't actually like each other. We don't have anything in common.
It's like, I can't stand him. He's my soulmate.
Yeah. And it's like, girls will dump a friend. Like, we're not afraid to say, like, cut someone out of our lives when the friendship has run its course. Mm. So to me, I was like, it's really hard to think that they would have stayed in touch with these women after their lives had taken such different directions. Like, it was a little unrealistic. And especially, like, when your friends have kids, like, it's real hard to stay in touch with your friends who have kids.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. Nearly impossible.
Yeah. So that part was a little bit like, this friend group legit makes no sense.
I did find, nice things about the movie. I don't want to give it a kicking, right? It's not an ill-willed movie, so... I found it to be a pretty accurate depiction of contemporary Atlanta. That's kind of a that's kind of a compliment a mother gives to their, I don't know, low achieving kid. But there was, as someone who I used to live in Atlanta, so like all the landmarks were there. Yeah, that was sweet. I could the diversity of the friends was realistic. Like, there was black and white, there was rich and poor. Like, you see those types of people,
sure,
in your daily life in that area. I liked that it depicted a couple who have built kind of a family around a very serious friendship instead of a romantic relationship. That's something you don't see much. So, you know, in juxtaposition with all of their friends that have these, like, you know, kids and husbands. Yeah. The friends say very explicitly, like, well, we think it's great that you guys have each other.
Right.
You know, and you've got a home, the two of you. You know, they're platonic friends, but they keep referring to each other as, you know, you're my person. Like, meaning, like, you're my life partner.
Right.
And, you know, we're partners in business, we're partners at home, we're a family. Like, so that was something I don't see very often. And that's kind of
given
interesting.
To us by Grey's Anatomy, right?
Yes.
You're
my person. But there was no romance plot in the entire thing.
Oh, you're right. No yucky love stuff.
No gratuitous
love story. Total win. You're completely right. Oh, like, man, they just, like, earned a point on the social.
There you go. There you go. Like, there's a setup at the beginning. Well, I thought it was a setup where Mel, I guess, kind of, this was actually kind of pretty funny the way she did it. Like, she kind of basically cold shoulders this guy that she's had overnight and to just leave. She's just like, goodbye. Thank you for coming. Please leave. And I thought it was going to be a setup for, oh, poor Mel has intimacy issues, like commitment issues. She's going to work on that through the movie.
Nope.
No, it was just, no, that's how I live.
And Mia's got, like, a sort of no strings attached, and everybody seems really happy, and it's well functioning, and she still has time for him and for her girl, and, like...
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That was one of the good things about it. Yeah, I again, really good diversity, well incorporated. It was nice to see, two Asian men doing comedy. You had the assistant and the, like, rival straight guy beauty company.
Yeah, the assistant cracked me.
Again, like, he should have been, but he should have been funnier.
Everybody
wasn't given anything to foil off of with Salma Hayek. Like, again, she wasn't villainous enough. Like, it was like, go get my handbag. So they were sort of kind of trying to do a Devil Wears Prada thing and just, like, not carrying it off.
Even when Jennifer Coolidge would say sort of her sidebar lines, I would think to myself, I feel like I should be laughing right now. Because it's Jennifer Coolidge, and she must be saying something funny.
She was totally wasted in this movie. Like, I don't think, So, it was sort of a masterclass in how not to do a comedy. And it's I still think of and this is polarizing, I realize, but I still think of the writers of Little Miss Sunshine and them saying how nothing funny happens in the first 15 minutes of the movie because comedy is specific. Like, you have to really get to know the people, and then you see, based on who they are, why they're funny, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like you have to develop the characters and let the comedy flow through what they do. Whereas this movie try to hit some sort of generic common denominator. It'll be funny if she falls into a pool. Like, sort of almost slapsticky.
Like the cops chasing them up the escalator.
Yeah.
Or not even cops, whatever. Mall guards or whatever.
Security guards. Yeah.
And oh, yeah. For that whole escalator scene.
White girls can't dance.
That made me laugh. Rose Byrne's dance up to those two girls.
I mean, she was pretty good, but I was just sort of like, again, this is tired. Like,
this
has been done so many times. So, like,
recycled, third generation recycled cliches, yeah.
And it just was hard. It was hard with that stellar cast not to feel like what this meant with better writing.
Yeah, it did feel like, now that you mention it, it did feel like it was formulaic. They had a formula. They were like, okay, we've got, these people have all been reported to me as being funny. I hear these people are funny. Let's put them in a raunchy female comedy. I've heard those have been popular since Bridesmaids. Let's have them do XYZ. I hear that's funny. And they just kind of like plunked it all into the algorithm and thought they'd have a hit. And it didn't do well.
It's not doing horribly though either, just because there's not a lot of other like comedy to see, I think, out right now.
True.
So yeah, I mean,
it's disappointing. It was disappointing. And Selma Hayek falling on her face at the end, like, wow, am I supposed to feel triumphant? Am I supposed to laugh? I was just kind of staring up at the screen like, oh, well, I hope she got paid a lot.
Yeah. I guess the last thing I'll say on this is just, it's disheartening after going through all the, like, women aren't
I know.
Commentary, and it's like, this was written by men, and you understand nothing about women or sense of humor, like, and that's why this is dark. Like, you don't understand what is funny. Like, maybe it isn't funny to you. Maybe there are some real differences. Fair enough, but I think about the only thing they managed to avoid were period jokes. Like,
that's what was missing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a good metaphor for the beauty industry.
Period jokes?
No, the being written and directed by men, right? It's an industry run by men, geared towards women.
Yeah.
And that was pretty, I don't know, fully explained.
For those who I have not introduced this topic to, like, I'm on, like, skincare Reddits. I listen to beauty podcasts. Like, I am deep in this world so far as, like, being an outsider could be. And yeah, and I thought, like, to that point, like, there was an opportunity to sort of, again, do like a Devil's Wears Prada type of thing about the beauty industry, especially in light of the fact that, so I sent you this thing earlier today. It's really only 7 companies that own almost all of the beauty brands. Like, and sort of famously, the woman who created Drunk Elephant, like, they just sold out to, I believe Shiseido bought them. Shiseido's one of the big 7. So it's like, you think that, like, you go into, like, a Sephora or an Ulta and there's all these different options, but really you're looking at this, like, 3 companies. It's like they all own all, and a lot of them did start out as independent companies. So, like, the trajectory of the movie was pretty spot on in terms of, like, you know, getting to the point where you're an established brand, but it's like, it's very similar to the technology industry now, where, or like Silicon Valley, where you start your business in your garage and you're just waiting to get bought by Google or Facebook, right? Like, that's happening with most of the beauty companies. And, like, there was some good social commentary that could have been made about the beauty industry, and they didn't make it.
Well, they did make an attempt, right? Not the main villain, but the secondary villains. Well, they did seem to make some attempt, as the secondary villains were the folks you mentioned earlier, the guys, 2 straight men who run their own makeup line, I guess, and competing for the support of Clara Luna. They are very, sort of egregiously hateable. They're very, smarmy and condescending to women. They're
and they engage only in bro talk.
In bro talk. Like, their motto is, or their tagline for their product is, "Get some, look hot."
I believe their line, I think their company is called Get Some, right?
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so. Get
Some. Yeah, and they use, terrible sort of objectifying imagery for their products and all this, right? So that was sort of placed as examples of, look, men running, peddling these products to women to make them, specifically making them feel bad so that they'll feel they need more of the product, which is a time-honored advertising tactic.
It is a time-honored, yeah, no, but so what was so frustrating about that was, so there's a scene in the movie where they do a competition, like a makeover competition, and they're each given twins, and the two women do a, like, highlight her natural beauty, make, like, over, whatever. Make under, I think, is the word I'm trying to come up with.
Sure, they want her natural beauty to shine, they say.
Right. And
shine
so, and the guys from Get Some do this, like, sort of very, very pack it on, like
can scrape it off with a butter knife.
Yeah. And then, the audience goes wild. And it's like, yeah, but again, for anyone who knows anything about the way the beauty industry is been run for the past few years. Like, it's not like this is a new trend. And in fact, I think this trend has been going so long, it's time, we're all wondering what is going to replace it. But, like, that sort of bipolarity of the beauty industry has been present for the past several years, where, like, it's either, this, like, Glossier, like, very understated look, or it's this, like, pack it on, like, Jeffree Star type of thing, like, that everyone has commented on, the, like, you're either Kim Kardashian super contoured, like, tons of makeup on, or you're, like, the dewy natural, I don't know who her analog is, sorry guys, I thought I knew all this beauty stuff, but boy do the influencer names just...
They're hard to remember.
They just wash
Very
over
forgettable.
me. I'm not part of that culture at all, and I don't watch all of that stuff. So they talk about them on the podcast, and then I promptly forget their names. Anyway, right. So, like, both of those trends are equally, like, prevalent right now. And so, like, trying to take down, it was just very, like, tone deaf in terms of, like, what the beauty industry is. And I think that, again, is the problem with Salma Hayek, is that it was very tone deaf. Like, they didn't know who are they trying to make her, and what part of the beauty industry. They didn't know anything about the beauty industry. It didn't seem like.
It wasn't like in Devil Wears Prada, where there was, specifically Anna Wintour as being
right.
lampooned. Who's this? Who's color? Where did she get her orange hair? I don't know.
Yeah, and why would she have that horrible orange hair?
Like, for someone who's really into beauty. Like,
yeah.
And there are a few missteps.
And then also in the sort of show don't tell thing, which you're right about them having to then do this big presentation, like, they don't come up with any creative ideas, like, and no one in the movie is, like, smart enough to come up with any beauty product idea that would, like, legitimately be like, oh, that could have worked. Right. Or, like, that's close enough to something. So it's like their big thing they're trying to sell is this, like, best friend box, which is incomprehensible, and I don't know what it is. You get 2 sets of products, one of which doesn't work at all for your skin tone, because one of you is black and one of you is white.
No, but it's okay because they're attached so that you can't actually, like, you have to have your friend there or you'll miss out on your makeup.
Right.
It's perfect. It made no sense at all.
Not only did it make no sense, especially in the cosmetics industry, like, so here's the thing that happened over Thanksgiving. Pro tip, guys. I'm going to visit family. I'm at my cousin's house, and I'm like, ooh, what's this special toothpaste that she has? So then I use it because I'm like, why wouldn't I try out a toothpaste that looks interesting?
Please tell me this was like when you were staying the night and getting ready for bed.
Oh, yeah. No, okay, not so just like randomly. No, like, I'm sorry. No, yes. Completely. When you're staying, you're doing an overnight at your friend's house.
Gotcha.
Or your family's house, and you're like, here's a product. Let me try her shampoo. Let me try her face wash. Let me try her conditioner.
I was picturing you on, like, a bathroom break.
And I was like, I'm just going to, like, use her toothbrush. Which actually makes my point for me. Guess what has never happened?
What's that?
Oh, here's her mascara. Let me put that on my eye. So the one thing you do not share...
is makeup.
Maybe lipsticks you'll pass around if you're not particularly germ-phobic, but, like, every woman knows better. You would never share... For all the women out there who don't wear makeup and for all the men who are not aware, you would never share mascara. No. Or like earring. Like, it's the...
unhygienic guys.
Yeah, it's just like you're going to pick up her bacteria, not to say that there's anything wrong with her, but her bacteria are going to clash with yours. And you're going to get like a sty or an eye infection. Like, so the whole idea of this like branded...
This movie is dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like...
health hazard.
And then again, like for color cosmetics, you would never share the colors.
Foundation.
The colors would be... So it's just like... It just so fundamentally misunderstands. It just doesn't make any sense that this product would be something anybody would want.
It was just very strange.
Proud Mary soundtrack. Notwithstanding.
Right, and
because that happened. Do Proud Mary, guys.
Yes, as should we all. Yeah, and they even have like depict the women like putting their makeup on the other one's face, and it's literally a Caucasian woman and a Black woman each doing each other's face with their own makeup.
Yeah,
makes no sense. I wouldn't even do that with an Asian friend. I know Asian makeup is different from Caucasian makeup. Like, it was just clueless.
So one of the big developments of the last, I think it's 5 years, was when Rihanna's Fenty Beauty line first came out, and she dropped 40 foundation shades.
Whoa.
And everybody was like, oh, and she legit set a bar of saying, you not catering to different skin tones and skin colors is BS. And I'm calling out the whole industry, like 40 shades. Mm. That's minimum how many you need to cover all the women in the world, right? Mm-hmm. And so like with the cast of this movie, like you could have done something incredible talking about, and there's still an incredible lack of diversity, and there's still an incredible catering to like a white woman standard in color cosmetics. So you could have had the fact that like, you know, you had this sort of interracial friendship work to some diversity thing. And they didn't know what to do with, because I clearly don't have anything, you know, and it's just like it's just really disappointing to see. I guess for me, it felt like, well, we're going to make a girl movie, and so we're going to make it about makeup, and it doesn't matter that we've clearly never met a girl or put on makeup, because we're, like, all totally qualified to talk about this, right? No.
Yeah. Why did it have to be about makeup?
I don't know. Like, I think you could have done, like, okay, so clean beauty is really fine. You don't want to touch that. Cruelty-free. Like, Maybelline being Bunny certified was a huge thing, and there's, like, a ton of controversy about manufacturing, and like if you want a cruelty-free brand and you sell in China, that's a problem because China requires animal testing. And so it's like you could have had the villain be like killing bunnies or put mascara on them or something. Like I'm like that would have like totally like actually doing like an animal cruelty thing would have been like really timely. And we're like it's now 2020, guys. It's 2020. And we're still just being talked down to in this fundamental way that...
All right, so let's ask the question. Is makeup pro-woman?
Of course.
It is. Why?
It's pro-man now.
Is it, though?
Mm-hmm.
Is it pro-human?
Yeah. A lot more men. A lot of trans women are very popular on YouTube makeup tutorials, and a lot of men are very popular on makeup tutorials now. I mean, they tend to be part of the queer community, but, I mean, and it's one of those things too, like back in the day, men used to wear makeup all the time.
Talking about like the
Regency
era.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And the 80s, the 1980s.
Yeah, guy liner.
Yeah.
Remember when Jack Sparrow came back? Guy liner.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So it's expression.
It's
It's not concealment. It's not an arms race trying to be as hot as the next girl, the next guy. Are they playing off our insecurities or are they empowering us?
Neither and both. I mean, I think that's the problem. You sort of can't do one without the other. I don't. Okay. For every person who feels confident and wants to, there is somebody who's secure and wants to cover it up. And I don't think you can. I think you can create an industry that definitely is both, but I think the beauty industry has made a lot of strides in that area. They still have a age problem, but even then, like, there's like this whole Maybelline ad with this woman in her 70s out there, right? Like, they're doing a lot to try to overcome some of that. You know, the whole big thing about wanting to ban the term anti-aging. Aging is good. Again,
it means you're surviving.
Yeah, beats the alternative, right?
You made it to my birthday. Congratulations.
And at what point, you know, are you just trying to look as good as you can given your circumstance? And at what point are you, and again, there are these people on the skincare Reddit staying home from work or class because they're too embarrassed to go with how bad their acne. That's hard.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there is no world without judging physical appearance. There's no humanity without it, right?
True. Even when the standards are different and opposing based on the culture, yeah, it's there. Is I guess like are the positive marketing campaigns like Dove, you know, like what Dove tried to do for several years, recently misstepped with their body shaped bottles, but you know their heart was in the right place, right? Is that a step in the right direction? Is it easy for them to do because they're soap?
I mean, there's always going to be that question about marketing.
Like they have to create, like it's their
they have
job
to
to
make
create
you want
a deficit
something.
in your life, right?
Yeah.
A perceived deficit.
So are they just capitalizing on a female empowerment body positivity movement? For sure. Does that necessarily make it a bad thing? I don't think so. Personally, because it's like, oh, so we see different kind of bodies presented on television. Haven't we been saying for years that's what we want? Now we get it and we're gonna be like, oh, there's just cynical capitalism like profiting off. I'm like, yeah, like
they gotta make
but they're a company, they're in business to make money, like
that's what they do.
Yeah, like, and you know, I think there's, you know, I think there has been an equalization in terms of all these little beauty and these YouTube influencers and actually letting different people come to the party and make a stake. Because, you know, there's no gatekeepers, right? Other than the YouTube algorithm, which gatekeeps in its own unfathomable way for sure. I don't know. What do you think?
Sure. Oh, I'm ambivalent.
Are you?
I do. I am. I kind of enjoy asking the questions more than I do actually answering those same questions.
I mean, mascara is not ruining feminism. Let's just throw that out there right now.
No, I'm just thinking of the movement of, I don't know, when it happened a few years ago where everyone was, like, women were to take a stand for something. They were, you know, posting pictures of themselves without makeup on Instagram, or even in Bombshell recently, they depict Gretchen Carlson as doing an episode without makeup, and that's like her sort of feminist move in that film. But we're not talking about that film. You know, so I don't know. Like, I know I don't feel myself go around without makeup, or sometimes it's situational. And when I'm in the district, I won't leave the house without it. When I'm in the country, I feel actually way more comfortable without it. Because it's just a different scenario. So yeah, I feel like obviously everyone can do it. And you're not a bad person, you're not a bad feminist for using makeup. It's, you know, I guess it's all about like where you are personally, like why you're using it. And if you do feel like you're using it for deficit reasons, like personal deficit reasons, like that's something to think about and look to for your own sake. No, I don't think I do think they have a responsibility to be judicious with their
and inclusive, yeah.
And inclusive. Like, don't make, you know, women of color feel bad for not being porcelain white. Like that's a mess.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Beyonce is like some white woman and is blonde. Like that's bless her if that's what she wants to do, great. But like if she felt compelled to do that.
Well, and there have been allegations of like, you know, Photoshop in that sense of them lightening her up to put her on things.
Sure. And there's face tuning on Instagram now, which is terrifying.
And you know, and showing an Asian eye when you do eyeshadow, like, you know, a model, like, there's all kinds of things. There's all kinds of ways to improve it. But I think that it comes down to the question of vanity, which is considered a sin.
Sure.
For sure. But one of the things that I find very hilarious about non-vain people, they do not understand vanity. And so they're convinced that it very much rests upon what other people think. Because that's the only reason, because they're not vain, so that's their main motivation for like looking well. Whereas vain people are like, nah, I'm just trying to please myself in the mirror. Like, I don't care what any of the rest of you think. Like, if I got up by myself, I put makeup on. Like,
right. Like, this is my face and I have to look at it.
Yeah. So gotcha. I think there's a funny thing too where people can kind of misunderstand the motivations. But I think, physical attractiveness is part of our humanity, and it's not going away. And as long as there's all kinds of beauty, but like, are certain things ever going to be in style? No.
Right.
And then it was funny. I was reading Dear Prudence today. I think it was Dear Prudence, and there was like a question from a woman who was complaining that her boyfriend does like all these like wacko things with his facial hair. He'll like grow a beard, he'll get bored of it, and then he does like a Yosemite mustache. Or like, like Civil War.
Sure, or a Spanish conquistador.
So, gotcha. Like he goes like, she's like, it's
really
not
fun with it, yeah.
It's like, it's not funny, it's stupid. Like, I really wish he wouldn't do it. And I was just thinking, like, people really discount, especially as facial hair has gotten more in vogue. Mm-hmm. Like, that's makeup. That's you playing around with ways to change your face for a man. So when you talk about men, it's like, oh, well, they just do weird things with their facial hair if they can grow it in. Like, so they're not putting on eyeliner or weird mesh eyeshadow. Like, they're doing something.
They are expressing themselves.
Yeah.
And their identities.
In their face. Yes. So I also think, like, people do want to get in on the game, whether or not it's socially acceptable, then becomes the question. But yes, I think given the chance, men would want to wear makeup just as much as
become hotter, and
as an average woman, right?
Well, I can tell you, as a pasty pale woman, it is very necessary. I'm not trying to enhance my features. I'm trying to show you what they are. Like, I'm outlining my face essentially, because otherwise I would just look like a white oblong. So anyway, that's my motivation.
Actually, before we end, I think we should sort of address something super obvious about physical appearance and makeup and everything. Quite intentionally, and people have suggested it. This is a podcast and not a YouTube show.
Yes.
Yes. And I very much try to, if you want to know what I look like, go out there and get it. But I don't post what I look like or what any of the hosts look like anywhere.
Because we are actually giant meerkats.
Seriously.
And we don't
If you saw the movie Cats, it was actually us.
That's us. That's a documentary.
Yeah. Because I actually want you to, like, whatever you're picturing in your head attached to all of our voices, like, that should be what you think we look like. But I also am just vain enough to be like, oh God, if we did do it YouTube, like, then I would feel like I had to put on a ton of makeup and like get the lighting all right and my hair looks good. And it's like, I don't need that kind of aggravation in my life.
We don't need it.
It's bad enough to have to sit here and listen to all my stupid vocal tics. Like, God, I don't have to look at myself. I'd never be able to do it.
Oh Lord.
So
great point. I'm with you.
God bless the podcast.
Yeah. I love this medium.
Mm-hmm. So, social impact score. It gets a 1.
A 1.
The 1 point it got for not having yucky love stuff.
Oh, right.
That's all I can give it.
I'll give it a 2 for an average of 1.
There you go. 0.5 being Billy Porter.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Recommendations for the week?
May I have 2, please?
You may.
Yay. So, Last Black Unicorn, the memoir by Tiffany Haddish.
Okay.
Super funny, super, like, genuine, interesting. She is a very, like, complex person, but very open. She goes into her background. It's, like, actually really tough to read at some points, but she tells it with, like, hope and humor. And she just seems like she's, you want to root for her. Like, cool. The more I know about her, the more I root for her. And
that's awesome.
So check it out, Last Black Unicorn. Other thing is, and I was watching them earlier today, the Black Lady sketch show on HBO. I've been watching the sketches on YouTube, but it's on HBO. That stuff is hysterical.
Cool.
So look that up. You're welcome.
I love it. I've heard of it and I have not checked it out. I'm going to go a little bit off topic. It's timely because ye old giant economic conference happens every weekend after the new year. So I was there I was privileged enough to go to a panel with a group of people, two of whom the term deaths of despair, and talking about the fall in life expectancy, how we got here from another speaker and why we are where we are. Absolutely fascinating, available for free on their website. I will put the whole panel is about an hour. My little liberal self does not recommend the University of Chicago guy who telling you that all systemic problems can be solved by the community because, he's from Chicago and that's their school of economics. So check that out. And yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Movies That Matter. As always, we love making it.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. We're open to comments on Twitter at Movies Matter Pod, on our Facebook page /Movies Matter Pod. You can contact us through our website, moviesthatmatterpodcast.com. We look forward to hearing from you and to seeing all the great 2020 movies we have ahead of us.
Excited.
Yes, we have a really great season for you as always. So remember, movies matter.
So do you.
See you next time.